Um, Thank you, Rebecca. It is 7:02, May 6th, 2022. I call this meeting of the Wellfleet Select Board to order in accordance with the temporary suspension and enhancement of the open meeting law as allowed by the General Court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The first order of business is open session public comments and announcements. Please note that public comments must be brief and the board will not deliberate or vote on any matters raised solely during announcements and public comments. I would just like to welcome Barbara Carboni, who is joining the board. Barbara, if you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very humbled and proud to join the board, and I look forward to working with you and with Charlie for a little while, and then with Mr. Waldo when he joins us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So to the open meeting law complaint related to filed by Judith Aaron. Related to the meeting that the Wellfleet Select Board held on April 12th, 2022. Charlie, maybe.
Yes, Ryan.
Okay. Can you just quickly explain the response from Town Council?
Yeah, well, Town Council has prepared a draft response that was included with the agenda package. And clearly, based upon that response and previous serving member Janet Reinhardt is participating in this meeting. She had asked, was bothered by the content and had asked Rebecca Eldridge, the administrative assistant, to interrupt the video portion of the citizens' participation, Jude Ahern in this case. Largely we had worked to alleviate the issue. Jude was available to have some access to the meeting, and we can obviously provide a full copy of the video content of that meeting. And I think we have already done that and placed that on the town's website for public access.
Okay, John.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that trouble me on in this letter from Town Council. Well, one in particular, it says that the board submits that Ms. Ahern's allegations regarding the First Amendment, other civil liberties, or public records law are outside the scope of the division's review. When did the board submit this? I don't know.
We haven't yet.
This is a draft for your consideration tonight.
Okay, because all right, that's we're going to discuss this then.
Yes, if we voted for it, then we would have considered it.
Okay, I understand now.
Sure.
Okay. Charlie, why don't you address the John's concern about the civil liberties and where that falls in the open meeting law?
Yeah, well, the process that we're currently engaged in is really relative to the open meeting law under the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And so it's a narrow process that we're currently engaged in. So they don't deal with those issues relative to, First Amendment rights and so forth.
John?
Yeah, well, this is what one of the things I have a question about, because I realize that, well, allegedly she was allowed back into the meeting by phone. I don't have any record of that, but the manner in which this happened, a member of this board circumventing proper procedure by raising a point of order and allowing the chair to address this, which is the sole prerogative of the chair, and instead going to the person administering the electronic access to the meeting, wouldn't that be considered an egregious violation of open meeting law? to deny somebody access to a meeting, especially through improper procedures?
Charlie?
Well, I think clearly, John, just from reviewing the facts on the ground, that a mistake was made. And, proper protocol was not followed. Janet Reinhardt had sent an email to the selectmen accepting responsibility. And relative to internal issues with, our employee who took some action based upon that request, I'll deal with that separately from an open meeting law complaint. But, clearly an error was made, and, I think the situation that we have, there's a human aspect to all of these issues, and, the reality is we learn from these processes and issues, and I think that's exactly what happened. But in the end, this whole meeting was taped and is available for the public to review.
Okay. Helen?
Yeah, the letter is good, but there's one thing or two things that need to be clarified in the letter, and it's very important. And this was explained to me today, and it's part of what happened inadvertently. When you, in quotes, report to the Zoom setup, God knows it's probably bots, it's different than if I can go through you, Ryan, and ask Rebecca to explain this, because Rebecca, you explained it very clearly to me today, and it's important that this is indicated in the letter, what report means in this case. In my experience, nobody on this board, well, Barb has just gotten on, but I doubt that she would do it either, given her background, would inadvertently just not have somebody in the meeting in this fashion. There are a few reasons why the chair can, mute somebody, but kicking somebody out of the meeting is really serious. And we've only done it very, very occasionally when somebody's really gone off on us. So through you to Rebecca, will you please explain so that everybody knows, including the public, what a report is in terms of Zoom?
Is it okay, Ryan?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. When Janet had asked me to see if I could take the picture down, I went over to the participants page and saw where Jude's name was. I went to Jude's name and it said more. I went down and the picture and it said report. And I thought I could report the picture as being offensive. When I did that, it automatically removed her from the meeting. I went back in, I got an email from Zoom saying, do you want to report this? I immediately hit no, realizing that she had been removed from the meeting. That being said, I thought she would be allowed back in with her computer. But once, according to Zoom, you report someone, they don't let you in for the remainder of that meeting. I was told that she was let back in on her phone, so I didn't think anything of it for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you. That clarifies a little bit what happened. And we've all gotten pretty good at Zoom, but I at least wasn't aware of that particular procedure. And I wonder if the rest of us were. The other thing is, in terms of the request to, in some way, not see this additional, practically an additional agenda item, given that it was a private space that we were looking at, but it was very deliberately exhibited for us to see, and it was not on the agenda. It was another issue, which Ms. Ahern had every right to express her opinions about the election we just had. And there was no pornographic content. There was no hate language. There were none of the things that you could ask, you could kick somebody off a Zoom meeting with, or tell them to leave an actual real life meeting. But it was distracting. And there is something that needs to be mentioned in this meeting, which is the person in Rebecca Eldridge's position, and I've now worked with a whole lot of people in that position, has an odd relationship with the select board. In our charter, the select board can't even communicate with staff without getting permission from the town administrator. I always do that. But the person in Rebecca Eldridge's position has, and also the person in Jean McLaughlin's position, the relationship with the select board is quasi-secretarial in part. Rebecca Eldridge does a whole lot more than that. But Rebecca works for the TA, but she also in part works for and with the select board. And there are things that we ask her for now and then at her convenience that we don't go through the TA for, her or anybody else in that position. You know, can you put this piece of material into the packet? It has to do with the agenda, you know.
Helen,
Wait, the point is that's something which is, excuse me, Ryan, I'm about to finish, don't worry. That's something which under the circumstances, and I'm trying to address what happened between Janet Reinhardt and Rebecca Eldridge during the meeting. The meeting was rather stressful, even from my point of view. And thinking through it carefully might not have been the easiest thing for everybody. And we should absolutely recognize that context. It was a very unusual meeting. Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
Mike,
Yeah, I just want to point out to John that in her own complaint, it says she was able to rejoin the meeting by phone and dial in. And that we're just responding to an open meeting law complaint because that is the scope of the agenda item, and the complaint itself is an OML complaint. And so the unintentional removal of someone from the meeting and the fact that they were able to re-access the meeting, I think is an important point. And the other thing I just want to bring up is that we are dealing with a Zoom situation where we're using a certain format of Zoom where the panel is not separated from the participants in any way. And I don't know if that's the best format, really. A lot of places are using the panel format where participants are, participants, and there's a clear delineation between, the board and the participants, just as there would be in a meeting room where the board is up at the table and the participants are in the audience. And so that's somewhat problematic, and I think may have led to, a process that wouldn't happen in a normal meeting. I mean, this isn't something that would happen if we were all at the COA. And we have to remember that we're living on a format right now that is not something that we're all used to in terms of these types of issues. So, we're learning.
so it's kind of outside the scope of the agenda item, but we shouldn't change. Yeah, we shouldn't change the format of that things are displayed in right now, because there are a number of people who physically raise their hands rather than using the functions built into Zoom.
Sure. That's not the argument that I was trying to make, really. The other issue is I'd just like to speak, if I may, on the fact that I'm referred to as someone in the complaints. I didn't have anything to do with the removal of the picture or the removal of the participant. State that for the record. Didn't really mind the picture that much. I think it actually wound up garnering me quite a bit of support after the fact. So I personally just thank Jude for that.
Okay, John?
Jude has been indicating that she can't hear the proceedings.
There has to be something on her end. There's nothing that controls it from our end.
Okay.
So, yeah. That could be, any number of things with her set up. Okay, so in terms of the content of the draft letter supplied by town council, is there anything, does it meet the satisfaction of the board?
Yeah.
Helen?
Yeah, I indicated already one thing that should be slightly clarified, because believe it or not, the people at the AG's office may not understand about the report situation.
No,
So-
they'll understand that. So,
And why do you assume that, Ryan? Because the thing is, there are a lot of very smart people in the world who may not know everything there is to know about Zoom and its ins and outs. And then I have one more question. And we have to put in the dates, of course. And there's some typos, so I hope the person goes over it. So how shall I put this in a kind of efficient way? I'd like to ask Rebecca, were you trying to remove the whole video, not, of course, the audio for Ms. Ahern? Or were you just trying to get rid of, or, obscure part of what you saw in the rectangle? Because that's much harder to do than simply cutting the video and leaving the audio on.
Mr. Chair,
I mean, we've gone over this, Helen, already, so.
Not in public, we haven't. So I'm asking Rebecca if she would clarify that. Thank you.
It's not relevant.
To you, it's not.
It's Helen, the matter of the fact is that a request was made to remove the video. And in the course of that, Jude was removed from the meeting. It doesn't matter if the request was to remove part of the video or the entirety of the video. The fact is that the video was removed or the request was made to have the video removed and in the course of that, she was removed from the meeting. That is the scope of the open meeting law complaint that we are dealing with here.
I am asking Rebecca if she was asked to remove the video or part of the video, and that is relevant.
All right.
Rebecca does not have to answer that if she does not want to.
No, but it's a good question.
I was just
Rebecca.
asked to remove the picture. There was no video that was asked to remove. I was just asked to remove her picture.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Barbara?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in the letter, could we just talk briefly about the last paragraph, which on page, I guess that's page 2, that starts, finally, at its meeting on May blank, the board ratified all substantive discussions that Ms. Ahern may have missed during the April 12th meeting during an interruption in her video and telephone access. So is that something that the board is going to do at this meeting in order to be able to say that in the letter, or is that something that happened already?
We have not done that yet.
Okay, and town council, I assume because it's in here, town council thinks that's something that we need to do?
Yes.
Okay.
To take care of the deficiency.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. John?
Yeah, I'm still hearing, I'm wondering if we should try to unmute her or something because
She's not on now.
oh. Because it seems to be, if she can't hear the meeting, there's something just not right about it.
That would be on her end. That is totally,
It wouldn't have anything to do with her being unmuted? I
no,
mean, being muted? Okay,
no.
all right.
So that,
I'm gonna-
yeah.
I'm gonna- so.
Ryan, I'm seeing her name on the
Yeah,
participant.
she just rejoined.
Oh,
So,
good. Thank you.
okay. Okay, so for where the dates are that we have to provide, that would be tonight's date, so it would be May 6th. I guess I would move to amend the letter to read May 6th, wherever indicated throughout the entirety of the document.
Chair,
Yep,
might we ratify the substantive discussions prior to authorizing this so that we make sure we do that?
okay,
I'm not sure how much time she actually missed on the meeting. If you look at her complaint,
so, I mean, that's,
can we just simply say that the meeting has been posted publicly and all discussion that took place is available to the public and for Jude Hearn to view?
that's already in the letter.
I know, but what I'm asking is that sufficient?
Yeah, I guess
Yep.
maybe we're, I think, talking about the same thing, just going back to my question, is that something that we need to do to, in addition to having the audio and the video available to the public, does this board need to take a vote to ratify the actions at that meeting, which seems to be town council's opinion that we do, I think, and that's why it's in the letter. So I think that's the answer to Mike's question, but I could be
Yeah.
mistaken.
So, yeah, you're right. Sorry. I move to ratify.
Ryan, I've got my hand
Huh.
up. I've got my hand up.
Okay, Helen.
Thank you. Ugh. Yeah, we've been through this before, perhaps before Ryan being on the board. We have to ratify it, and I suggest that the first thing that we referred to is the actual recording. Because that is the most precise. That's all of it. That's the material.
So a motion, Ryan?
Yes, I move to ratify all substantiative discussions that Mrs. Earn may have missed during the April 12th, 2022 meeting of the Wellfleet Select Board.
Helen, second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
John, aye.
Michael, I.
Barbara, I'm going to abstain. I wasn't present at that meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ryan, aye.
Helen, aye.
Okay, motion carries 4-0.
Ms. Ahern has her hand up.
Yep, let's get through the date part here and then I'll call on her, okay? Or actually there's one where she was removed from the meeting at a certain time. I think it was around an hour and 30 minutes into the meeting. So that would have been around 8:30. Would that be correct, Rebecca?
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember.
I think it was around an hour and 30.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So, it would be, that's in the second to last paragraph. It starts, as said, the board acknowledges that Ms. Earn participating in the meeting, and it goes on to be resulted in the removing of Ms. Earn from the meeting at blank time. So I would say at approximately, or amend that to read at approximately 8:30 p.m. Is there a second?
Helen, second.
Okay, roll call vote.
John, aye.
Michael, I.
Ryan, aye.
Helen, aye.
Okay.
What about Barbara?
Barbara, I,
You don't have to. If I'm not at a meeting, I typically
Okay.
abstain. So
okay, all right, withdrawn, I'll abstain from this one as well.
okay. And then the date where we the board, the second paragraph, it says following the receipt of the complaint, the board met on blank. 22. So that should read tonight. So it should be, the board met on May 6th. I would be more specific, at 7 p.m. 2022. And the second to last paragraph is finally at the meeting on May 6th, 2022, to be amended there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I move to accept those amendments and to accept the letter from the response from KP Law to be sent on to Ms. Ahern.
Got to be separated.
Separated, please.
okay. So
Alright.
just on the amendments,
Okay, I move to accept the amendments.
Well,
second,
uh,
I just read them out, Helen.
no, you read out, you mean the date amendments?
Yes,
That's
Yeah,
what-
okay, yes.
John, I.
Michael, I.
Brian, I.
Helen, I.
All right, Barbara, abstain.
All right, and then Helen, I know that you have some probably copy edits.
You
if-
know, yeah,
So
um,
second, Helen. So I would ask for you to, if they don't change the substance of the letter, if you can just discuss that, or, work, I guess, address them with administration. The letter has to be sent out by Monday.
by Monday, through you to Rebecca, can you send me something I can write into? It's as simple as things like the word "than" being left out. Of course, nothing substantive. But I have a question. Ryan,
1 second, Rebecca, can you answer a question first?
Yes, I can do that for you, Helen.
okay, if you're able to send this to me this evening, then I can do it over the weekend and get it to you on Monday morning. If you don't,
Okay,
just so I can write into it. But I have my hand up about something else.
You can go ahead, Helen.
Thank you. To the rest of the members of the board, Rebecca just explained something about the word report. Did all of you know that as clearly as she explained it before she did?
No,
Yes.
Yes, I think
I'm sure that the Attorney General knows, however, because they've been dealing with open meeting law complaints related to Zoom for the last 2 years.
Ryan, I'm asking the members of the board if they had as little knowledge about it as I did. And I've been dealing with Zoom for 2 years, over 2 years. So may I ask John? Mike answered, Barbara hasn't answered, and John hasn't answered. You said,
Yes, I understand the meaning of the word report.
was that the question? Yeah, I understand.
well, what Zoom means by it. As Rebecca explained.
If I may, point of order.
Yep.
It just doesn't matter, Helen, because there's a process involved in that when that happened. It doesn't really matter whether it was the button report or whatever. It says in here that it was incidental removal. So I don't think we need to go into detail with the mechanics of it.
Well, respectfully, I disagree, but I've made my case and other people don't support it. And I think you're very much mistaken if you think that everybody at the AG's office understands exactly how that works. Thank you.
I mean, it basically describes what happened. I mean, it's like, the car exceeded the speed limit, therefore this happened.
Oh, no, it was much more complicated than that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion.
Yep.
The stuff.
Yeah, Mike,
I move to accept the letter as amended from KP Law to be sent to Jude Ahern.
second. Roll call vote, please, and then I'll call on Jude.
John, nay.
Barbara, I.
Brian, I.
Michael, I.
Ellen, I.
Okay, Jude? Unmute her, please.
Okay. Hi, everyone. thank you for letting me speak. I didn't hear your discussion before, but I did read the draft letter, and based on when I did come in, it seems like you're still going with this story that it's just a mistake. And I think there are two issues. One is that I was not allowed to participate, and then the other is why I wasn't allowed to participate. So it's clear that I was not allowed to participate because Janet didn't like my sign.
So Jude, we did address that in the part that you couldn't hear. I'm sorry. So,
Okay. So getting back to then the story that it was a mistake, I was actually thrown out twice. And the first time was after I was allowed to speak to my open meeting law. The video was disabled. And then I was allowed to rejoin, which is why you saw me pop in a couple times, Ryan, and you mentioned that. And that was because I had my static picture of me and my goat, Tiny. And then I changed that picture. I got out again to change it to just the sign that said dethroned Vivasto, and I was thrown out again. So it was absolutely intentional. And I guess I would ask, because I know I've been thrown out before, why is it suddenly, Rebecca, you have problems with Zoom? And, you know, how many times have you thrown people out of meetings? Is this the first time? Is it only me? Have there been other people? And has it been the same problem?
I can kind of speak to that. There have been other people that have been removed from meetings. I mean, there was one the other night.
And
I
did
forget what-
that person try to get back in, or was it for reason?
Yes, for a reason.
Okay. So Rebecca, when that happens, do you see when people are trying to get back in, or is it a permanent block? Like, how does that work?
Rebecca, if you may.
Zoom, once I reported your picture, Jude, Zoom removed you. I tried to unremove you and unblock your picture.
I
did not-
remove people.
Okay.
Jude,
I tried
Okay,
to remove
so-
your picture. I was asked to do so. I did what I was asked. I
Okay,
did not
that's
remove you more
that's
than
the real
once.
issue.
I
So
did not remove you more than once.
you did
And
actually, and I
no,
have
I
all the
didn't.
screenshots to prove it. So
I didn't, and I wasn't
if
the
you
only
may,
host.
so,
So just so
Jude-
you know.
Ryan, you say that you saw me pop in a couple times, and that's true. So I was allowed. I got back in with Tiny, my goat. You must have liked that. And then when I changed it, I got kicked out again. But anyway, Zoom doesn't do this. You have control, Rebecca. And to the point that somebody directed you, was that addressed when I couldn't hear?
yes,
Okay, so everyone knows that Janet violated my First Amendment. You know, is that going to be changed in the letter, or going to make me write to the Attorney General Civil Rights Division, or what?
that is not part of the open meeting law, unfortunately. You know,
Okay,
the scope
so
of
I'll-
request of the open meeting law complaint kind of
Okay.
limits how we are able to respond.
so you're going with the story that it was a Zoom issue and that it was a mistake. Is that correct?
I think that you were removed. How that happened, you know,
Well, I'm telling you, I was allowed to enter a couple times. I have all the screenshots as proof. Rebecca is claiming that Zoom did it, which is a joke. So it's just not true.
okay.
All right. So if you're going to go with that, fine. Another question.
Jude, if you,
This
right.
is about the
Dude, I'm
open meeting
gonna-
law. Was I discussed in the April?
issue you a warning at this point.
Was I discussed in the April 26th executive session?
I can't discuss what may or may not have been discussed at the April 26th executive session
It's not clear in the agenda.
without violating the rights of municipal employees. So thank you.
So you're saying I was not mentioned because I'm not a municipal
I
employee.
can't speak, it's still under executive session. I mean, we can't speak about matters.
So was it Janet
Sorry,
you were
Jude,
talking
can
about?
you
No,
hear me?
because if it's Janet, I need to know
So,
because she's no
Can
longer.
you
select
mute
board
her,
member.
Rebecca? I've issued a warning, you know, I'm not gonna remove you. It's just, yeah. Mike,
I don't have my hand up. I don't
okay,
have anything to say.
all right. So with that, I'm sorry. We'll move on to the press release. So Sharon Ruhlager, if you can unmute her.
It's all set.
Hi there.
Hi Sharon, how are you tonight? Sorry you had to sit through that.
Yep, all good.
I should have done the order in reverse. So, if you may, do you want to quickly present on the press release?
Well, basically, we had a meeting, a large group meeting last Friday about the Maurice's Campground Work Group. And I thought it was a very good meeting, and I was really excited to see the level of organization, just right from the get-go. And I am in the communications group, and there were a couple of things. One, so there was a question about whether Kathleen Nagel is actually receiving any payment for this, which I believe she is not. And I think there might be some rumor going around town that she is. And so that there was an intention to dispel that rumor, but also to just let the town know what good things are happening in terms of organizing around due diligence and really investigating the potential purchase, of Maurice's Campground, and really trying to be very transparent.
Okay, so yeah, so just for the record, Kathleen is not receiving any form of compensation whatsoever for her involvement in reaching the purchase and sale agreement with the Gauthiers. She did it 100% as a volunteer. And also the Gauthiers themselves do not have an agent, a real estate agent either. And so there is not a seller's agent that is receiving a commission either, which is another thing I've heard out and about. Are there any questions from the members of the board about this press release?
No.
Helen?
It's great. Who drafted it?
I did, but with lots of input from
It's great. Thank you.
people.
Couple things. The first word should be the, because Wellfleet Selectboard has created is not really a sentence. So you need to put the before Wellfleet Selectboard.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, a couple people have asked me about this, in fact. List in this press release the names of all the members of this work group. It won't take up that much room, and that's the kind of thing people like to know, especially because only one person appointed it. It wasn't done in a public meeting, so that's good. And then the last thing is in the last paragraph, and it's very good that this is in here because that's the second stage, so people understand it's not a fait accompli exactly what's going to happen with it if the town decides to buy it. That's very important for people to feel that there's going to be input. And so call it not a new working group, but what it's usually referred to normally, it's a planning committee. And it'll have some little name, like in Truro, Barbara would know this, the Walsh Property Planning Group, whatever committee, but just change new working group to planning committee, and that'll give it a little more formality and have it be obviously different than this nuts and bolts group that is happening now, which is very necessary because there's so much to know and it has to be gone over. And if it's going to pass a town meeting, that information all needs to be there. Thank you.
Okay.
Never
Barbara?
mind. Never. I'm
Barbara? Sorry.
Yeah, so, yes, I had the same question or comment to list the members of the committee or the working group. And I wondered whether the committee or working group, whether it's determined that it is covered by the open meeting law so that its meetings, need to have public notice and minutes and all of that. Because some working groups, depending on their characteristics, do not need that, but depending on what this one is, it might. So I just wanted to make sure that there was clarity on that. Thank
So we are treating it like it's a public meeting.
Okay,
With all with notices on the town website, if there's
Okay.
quorum of various boards or committees that might be present, those are posted as well. The first one was recorded on video. I'm not sure if we have minutes for it yet or not. So
great, thank you.
So the minutes piece, I'm not sure of. The other thing is that, I'm really not an experienced press agent here. So my understanding is that press releases are supposed to be like between 300 and 500 words. So that's what I was struggling with. And listing the names would clearly, it's already above that. Listing the names would take it way above that, but maybe that's okay. I really don't know.
I guess maybe as long as the names are, oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
go ahead.
Yeah, just maybe if they're listed on the website somewhere, on the page, then that's good enough. And I agree with you, maybe not, enlarge the press release itself. So thank you.
Okay, so I'll work on getting that listed on the website.
So when you say website, what website are you talking about?
I'm assuming the town, but if you want to post it on the housing website, you can do it there as well. So
Is there a Wellfleet town website?
yes,
Okay, because I was looking and I was a little confusing.
yeah. Helen?
Oh, sorry. 3 people have asked me who's on it, and it's not going to take up that much
Yep,
room.
we'll get it up there. So
The name, the
yes,
name.
for the names.
Thank you. Do you want a motion?
For the press release, yes.
I move that we approve and send out the press release as amended at tonight's meeting.
Second. Can I have a roll call vote?
John, aye.
Michael, I.
Barbara, I.
Ryan, I.
Ellen, I.
Okay, motion carries 5-0.
Great.
And
Thank
then
you, Karen.
I'll send it to Rebecca with everybody's names, so it's listed. Okay,
Great.
all
So
right.
is something else I need to be doing,
No,
or you guys will amend it and send it
Oh.
to Rebecca?
I'll probably just do it so it's done.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and with that, yeah, so,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
sorry. Roll call vote, please.
John, aye.
Michael, I.
Ryan, I.
Barbara, I.
Ellen, I.
All right, thank you, and we'll look forward to your first long meeting on Tuesday, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and everybody.
All right, thank you, good
Bye.
night.
Bye.